You're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats.
I see it as very enthusiastic, but as mentioned we have to be very professional. We have set the rider lineup for 2025, but everyone has to get back to doing their job this year, focusing on their mission. Vinales and Bastianini will face integration into the factory team with Binder and Acosta. With these 4 riders, the targets KTM has set for 2025 and beyond are extremely high. We all have one goal, as a team, as a company, and also the riders themselves. We want to win championships, Guidati said. KTM promises to help Jack Miller rediscover his best form as a reward for his commitment. On the other hand, Italian MotoGP rider Marco Bezzecchi is said to have an unoriginal performance in the 2024 MotoGP compared to his performance last season. This season, Valentino Rossi's student from the VR46 Academy is sponsored by Pertamina Enduro, while last year VR46 was supported by Muni, which is a company engaged in financial services. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola said that the real Bezzecchi is the rider who won 3 races and finished 3rd in last year's MotoGP rather than the rider who is currently 12th in this year's standings. Aprilia has subsequently signed the 25-year-old on a multi-year contract alongside current MotoGP leader Jorge Martin from 2025. And here's the full news. KTM have set their goals for the rest of the season before they launch their new-look MotoGP team. KTM's lineup for the 2025 season will feature Brad Binder and Pedro Acosta in the factory team, and the new duo of Maverick Vinales and Enea Bastianini in the Tech 3 KTM team, who will be clad in orange and get factory-spec bikes. This decision means that current riders Jack Miller and Augusto Fernandez will have to find new bikes to stay in MotoGP next year. After confirming the 2025 lineup, KTM factory team manager Francesco Guidato told Sky Italia the targets he set for the rest of 2024. To improve on the previous year's performance, given that the level is increasing, he said. Finding a slightly sharper binder with this new rear tire interpretation gave us a lot of satisfaction but also some problems. So bring Brad back to the top of the standings like at the beginning of the season and like last year. Acosta is improving, which is a nice surprise and important as a newcomer. And finding Miller again will give us the satisfaction he also deserves from us for the commitment he gives and puts into this project. After being the top non-Ducati rider last year, Binder has had a difficult season so far as rookie sensation Acosta has emerged as the best KTM rider to date. Meanwhile, the experienced Miller is 16th in the standings, with P5 in Portimao being his best result so far. With Vinales from Aprilia, KTM has recruited a race-winning rider who is enjoying excellent form. He's an old acquaintance of KTM, he has a close relationship with our general manager, Guidati said. I think it's about finding him, not looking for him. I see him very enthusiastic, but as mentioned we have to be very professional. We have set the rider lineup for 2025, but everyone has to get back to doing their job this year, focusing on their mission. Vinales and Bastianini will face integration into the factory team with Binder and Acosta. With these 4 riders, the targets KTM has set for 2025 and beyond are extremely high. We all have one goal, as a team, as a company, and also the riders themselves. We want to win championships, Guidati said. The integration will be quite simple because we are all heading in the same direction. There is a very close collaboration with the Tech 3 team. You give the example of soccer, which works very well. It's one team with different players. The material available is already the same for everyone this year, even for Acosta and Augusto Fernandez, so we just need to accelerate, continue this growth process and strengthen ourselves with 2 other top riders. On the other hand, about Valentino Rossi's student, Italian MotoGP rider Marco Bezzecchi's performance in the 2024 MotoGP is not genuine when compared to his performance last season. This season, Valentino Rossi, student from the VR46 Academy, is sponsored by Pertamina Enduro, while last year VR46 was supported by Muni, which is a company engaged in financial services. Aprilia CEO Massimo Rivola said that the real Bezzecchi is the rider who won 3 races and finished 3rd in last year's MotoGP rather than the rider who is currently 12th in this year's standings. Aprilia subsequently signed the 25-year-old on a multi-year contract alongside current MotoGP leader Jorge Martin from 2025. Although Bezzecchi managed to overcome the weaknesses of last year's Ducati bike, he struggled to get comfortable on the GP23 with only 1 podium in 7 races in the 2024 MotoGP. This leaves Bezzecchi 11th in the World Championship and the 4th best GP23 rider behind Marc Marquez, Gresini, 3rd, his new Pertamina Enduro VR46 teammate Fabio Di Gianantonio, 9th, and Alex Marquez, Gresini, 10th. When a rider performs in a good way one year and the next year is not the same, you start to wonder, Rivola said. Does that mean not enough talent, or are there other problems that may come from different areas? Not necessarily just technical. In the end, my feeling is that the real Bez is last year's Bez and not this year's Bez. And for this reason, I still hope they keep the fake one this year to get a better result for us. Rivola joked. But I really believe in his speed and talent. We need to align the planets. Asked to pick out what impressed him about Bezzecchi, Rivola cited his wet weather ability and dominant win at last year's Indian MotoGP. There are definitely characteristics that are quite impressive to me, said Rivola. Certainly riding on a wet track is one of them, especially the first and only time we all rode on a track that was new to everyone, India. He won by a huge margin, 8.6 seconds. So there are undoubted signs of talent. You really see, okay, this guy has something special. You can argue this year he didn't give a good performance, even though, for example, Marc Marquez had the same bike and always fought for the top position. So I think also sometimes there are external factors, not only technical, that can guide performance. The complicated and fun aspect is to discover what exactly is the secret of aligning the planets. If I saw Maverick, for example, in Austin, I would expect him to be world champion. But unfortunately, the worlds are not always aligned. So we need to find a way to align the planets, said Rivola. Rivola said that Bezzecchi's character seems to combine elements of Aprilia's current race-winning factory lineup, Alex Espargaro retiring at the end of this season, and Vinales switching to Tech 3 KTM, and the soon-to-arrive Martin. It also seems to me that Bezzecchi's character is quite Latin, and we are used to that, said Rivola. Alex, for example, is one of them. Jorge Martin also seems to be one of them. So it will be quite a motivating garage in Aprilia racing, and I'm looking forward to it. But first we will be very focused for this year because we need to continue to develop the bike. And we need to understand what they need. Both of them come from top-level bikes, Ducati, and for both of them it is the only MotoGP bike they ride. So it can help from one side also the direction, if the direction is better to follow, or maybe they will continue to look for something that our bike cannot provide. It's difficult to predict, but in the end, I think the choice of these two riders, Bezzecchi and Martin, is the best we can get. While Aprilia's factory lineup has now been decided, the identities of current Trackhouse satellite riders Raul Fernandez and Miguel Oliveira remain to be decided for 2025.
See her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a